Here we are, the Mixtape Lounge. Carrie Stinson and Josh Martin. How are you, Mr. Martin?
I'm fantastic, Mr. Stinson. How are you, sir?
Man, I'm good. What's been going on?
Oh my goodness. Well, what hadn't been going on? You know,
I do know.
little of this, little of that, family life, soccer, practice, uh, pep rallies, choir performances.
And we had Midland, Odessa. Did we find out which one? Was it Midland or Odessa?
We were in Odessa.
All right.
We were in Odessa, but it was mid-December. And I also heard a random saying. It's called live in Midland, party in Odessa.
Well,
what I heard.
I've been there many times.
Know.
I've never heard that, but I guess I'll have to try that out.
Yeah, I've never heard that either. I think that might be a new one. Odessa is kind of picking up. There's some things to do there now.
That's awesome. How was it? How was
a good time? Yeah, it was a good time. It was a little slow. Attendance was a little light, but at the end of the day, had a good time hanging out with some people. Had a little road trip, and meet some new friends and fans, and had a cocktail named after Mr. Satan and I. So
yeah,
that was great.
We're popping the picture up that you sent. This is cool. This is cool.
Right. Yeah, it was yummy. Cool. We appreciate it,
man. So we got someone special on this week. A friend.
Yeah, we do.
A teacher and an actor, which is very cool.
That's right. Yes, yeah. I first met her at KD Studio when I moved here from Louisiana to go to acting school. She was already an actress in the actor in the business, in the industry, and she was teaching commercial audition technique, and that's where I met her.
Well, and then we got Miss Santa Claus, right? She was Miss Claus in one of the Barney videos.
I think she was a mom. I think she was a mom.
Right,
I think I might have gotten that wrong. Yeah, that's my fault. That's my fault.
This is what happens in the lounge, right? You start
listen, it's
the stories,
Mixtape Lounge. Anything's possible.
But she was in the video. She was a mom, and we have
no question.
What we're going to show here in just a second. So, man, we got to bring her on.
All of it. Let's go. Welcome, Reis McCormick, ladies and gentlemen.
This is so cool to have her on here, and I can't wait.
Thank you for being here.
I can't wait to hear stories about you as a student.
Well, oh gosh, I'm sure there might be one or two. I don't know. Are there any stories about me, Reese? Do you remember any stories about me as an actor in school, a young actor in school?
People said, "Where is he?" a lot. No. The stories about you they all came afterwards. Me learning more about you and hearing more about you, especially from Sherry Taylor, who worked in the front office. And I think, isn't she the reason that you ended up on Barney? She kind of
absolutely
that audition while you were imagining yourself doing other things.
Yeah, exactly. She helped me get a little focus. She told me about the audition. I didn't even have an agent to find out about the audition to begin with, and she was the one who called me.
It was.
But yeah, I did have. I guess so. I did have some attendance and growing issues at the beginning, but I remember Reese. I remember Reese being really paying attention. You could tell why she was already getting booked when she demonstrated how to do it. Giving all those tips, and when I was showing up, I felt like I was getting some good feedback, and.
Yeah, you were when you were there. You were spot on and attentive, and just as charming and affable as you are today. But we all need to grow, and it's not how you start; it's how you finish. And look at you.
Yeah, thank you,
Reese. How are you? Welcome to the Mixtape Lounge.
Thanks for having me. This is such a privilege.
This
Yeah,
is
things
so,
are good in cloudy East Dallas today. I just rode my bike around the lake this morning and it was like unbelievable. Can this really be Texas?
yeah, don't talk about it too much. I think we settle
Don't
about
jinx
talk
it.
about it too much.
Yeah.
So Reese, you were telling us a little bit beforehand. Talk to us about being on Barney.
Oh, okay. Well, I wasn't on the series. I was on the one of the, anybody remember a half-inch tape? I was on the VHS
I do.
home movie of Barney's Night Before Christmas. And thrilled to get the job. You know, I had worked on Wishbone. I'd worked on several projects through Lyric Entertainment, you know, but never Barney. And I felt like, well, if you live in Dallas, you've either, you know, if you're going to have any credibility at all, you got to work on Walker, or you got to work on Dallas, or you got to work on Barney, you know. So I was tickled to get my Barney audition. But my funny story about that is that my children had outgrown it. You know, Barney hits a sweet spot with childhood development. You know, there's a 6-month, year-long window where they're glued to it and they can't get enough of it. I think Fred Rogers had the same effect on an older child, you know. And so my kids loved Barney, but they had, well, when I booked it, I hung up the phone from my agent and I said, kids, guess what? Mom's going to be on Barney. And my son in 2nd grade never looked up from his homework and he said, you're not going to make us watch it, are you? And I thought, wow. Okay, so and I'm not sure they've watched it yet. They probably watched it with their kids now, but yeah,
Right.
yeah, it was a very sweet time. And KD, we had kids at our school that were on it. I felt a real kinship with that show. We identified with it. Dallas identified with it. I don't know if you felt that way when you were on the road, but it was a Dallas thing just as much as Who Shot JR, you know?
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely, we felt it. I've always said, but the show was the way it was because it was from Dallas and from Texas. I just don't think if you'd have put it in California or New York or something, I don't think it would have been the show it was. And
Well, when you were traveling, when you guys traveled around the world with the live show, what did people say? I mean, did they run up to Barney and want to hug him?
oh my gosh, they did. And I did the 1994 New York City show. And at that time, we took everyone from here. So, you know, all these big union guys and all these Texans show up, and we are patient and we are nice. And they were ready for the Grammys had been on the night before.
Oh, wow.
And so they were having to work this long shift and they were ready to put up a little bit of a fight because they weren't getting breaks and things like that. And then all these Texans come in and we are understanding and we are nice and we just are a little more low key than they're used to. And they were like, this is cool.
That's right. That's right. You were not just singing, I love you. You were actually walking the walk.
Well, and they'd never seen anything like, I mean, we sold out 12 shows and I think it was like an hour. I mean, it was
Wow.
crazy.
See what I mean about those little kids? I get it. I totally get it. I never saw the live
Powerful.
show, but I saw just about every, you know, during our sweet spot, I saw every episode. After school on PBS with Arthur and the Berenstain Bears and Sesame Street, and Barney was right there at the top of our list. And Wishbone was
The
too.
block.
Did you guys ever run into anybody out there at the studios from Wishbone?
Oh, all the time. And in fact, I did
I'm
a
wearing my
lot of,
Wishbone shirt.
oh, I love it.
Woo-hoo!
I
Very
love
cool.
it. I did a lot of special events with Wishbone itself. They would bring the dog out, the trainer out, and all these big events where Barney would come out and then Wishbone would come out.
Well, the thing about Wishbone was, I remember, and again, I wasn't on the series. I was on the Time for Show and Tell. I was on the half-inch tape of Dog Days of the West, which starred some fabulous
look at
local
that.
talent. What's that?
I said, look at that. That's
I
crazy.
know. It's a relic. Yeah, I'm old. So,
No.
the thing about Wishbone is that we were all told that soccer had counterparts. They would paint up. I mean, soccer had his markings, and we were not to touch him, don't make eye contact with him, don't, all that. And then they would bring on, another short-haired terrier and paint him to look like soccer, the one who did heights and the one who did water and all that. So there were several Wishbones,
Well, soccer would
There you go.
travel on the road, and it's funny because soccer sits in first class. Carrie does not sit in first class, but soccer sits in first class.
How do you like that, huh?
I love that. It's in his contract, a union contract.
Yeah, exactly. Did you know Fred Holmes? He directed a lot of the Wishbone episodes, and he did a lot of directing for Barney as well when I was on there.
No, I'm trying to remember the guy who directed my episode. Was there a David? Oh, it'll come to me when we're off. No, but it wasn't. It wasn't.
Okay.
It was not he. I don't remember him.
A lot of the Wishbone people ended up at Barney, so
Yeah.
I knew a bunch of it. Well, and there was some Barney people that went to Wishbone and then came back to. There was a whole thing where they went back and forth, so it was very cool. How did you get into acting?
I think you're kind of born that way. I would enlist the neighbors, I would write stuff and hand out scripts and make them act in it, and I would put on nightclub acts. My parents, I was made in Japan, and they had a bunch of Japanese memorabilia, and one of which was my dad's obi that went around his kimono, and it was a giant long swath of black silk. So I would make that thing into a real Jessica Rabbit looking kind of thing. Of course, I was 7, and I would put on nightclub acts. Out of the tree of life, I just picked me a plum with Frank Sinatra. I was doing karaoke in the living room at 7. And so they would look at each other and go, where does she get that? And it wasn't either one of them. There were no artists in my family. You just don't know what kind of bird will hatch. And that's the kind of bird I was. And so as soon as I was able to join a drama club or audition for a play, I did. And when I graduated from high school, I went to the University of Texas with no idea what I was going to do, for a living. But I signed up for some drama classes. And when you're a drama major at a university, at least in this state, they expect you to be in the theater, building sets and, doing grunt work for the upperclassmen, being in their scenes and all that stuff. And Austin was just, I'm going to take a page from your book, Josh. I was having way too much fun. So, there was a lot to do on the campus and in the city. And I just couldn't give that much time to the theater department. So by the time it was time to graduate, my father was like, 4 years are up, what's it going to be? And I looked at everything I had taken. I took all these weird electives, and I'd been doing theater on the side in Austin. And so I ended up with a liberal arts degree, very useful, and some professional acting credits. And so when I moved back to Dallas from Austin, I got an agent and I never looked back. So, and that's the thing, a lot of these kids that I recruit for KD Conservatory, and a lot of the high schoolers are like, well, I just love theater, and they can't imagine the kind of money that you can make from one commercial. So they're all like, no, I don't want to do broadcast. It's like, just wait, and then you get a series, or you get a film. And what's the old saying? Film makes you famous. TV makes you rich, theater makes you good.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of that, people all over, when I do conventions for, Dragon Ball Z and for anime and stuff, people are always asking, how do you get into voice acting? And I just think we always start well, you learn acting first. Because at the end of the day, it's all acting, whether it's voiceover or theater or TV or film, you know what I mean? And we, talk about the focus is different in each in each medium. So if you learn the basics at the beginning, then you figure out whether you do theater or commercials or TV, and you also figure out quickly. I think you'll admit that you do all of them, especially if they'll hire you, right?
And you
Any
can
and
do
all
all
of
of
them.
them if you live in Texas. You might get pigeonholed in a big market, you know. I
There
had
you
friends
go.
who left for New
Valid.
York and just did tons of commercials, couldn't get arrested for a TV show, you know. But I made that exact same
Yeah.
speech that you just made this week to a kid about, you know, it's all acting and you just ratchet it up or down for whichever, you know, medium you're in. But I think, you know, there's a lot of people sitting at home who have very interesting voices. I think it's all about,
Right.
I think voice acting's in your head. Those interesting choices and the things that make you grunt the way you do, you know.
Choices, not voices, right?
Choices, not voices. Oh my gosh. Yes.
Right. Yeah, totally. The voices will come from those choices that you make, right? That's how I feel, and a lot of other voice actors or actors feel when they're doing voice acting.
You know,
But yeah, anyway.
I had a really weird disconnect. I've published a book. I self-published and it just launched this week. And I was invited to come and do a reading. And I went, oh
Oh,
my gosh, this is my very first reading. I don't know how this dog sounds. And I was there in front of the children and they had a weird reaction. Those little ones, it was like I was talking to them like I'm talking to you. So the face matches the voice. And all of a sudden I opened the book and I thought, holy cow, I just started, the book opens with him sleeping in his dog basket. And so I just went, snore, snore. And those children looked at me like, I mean, it's so different when you're playing a game and you're not, and the voice is connected to a picture that matches.
Right.
Like Majin Buu matches his voice, and they were hearing this ridiculous thing coming out of this senior citizen. You know, it just didn't, it was bad. So I've got to figure out how can I do live readings of the Remy books, because I'd like to do more, but without freaking the kids out.
well,
Suggestions? Or maybe
workshopping.
I should just read it in my own voice, like I'm the grandmother.
Ooh,
I don't know. I don't know.
ooh, I
We'll
like
see.
But you know,
that. I like that.
it's funny you say that because, you know, with Barney over the years, there was a lot of adjustments that I had to make from his original color. They changed the color. And, you know, I don't know if you know this, Reese, but Barney at the beginning, because he was so big and tall, he scared kids. And it's the reason why Baby Bop and BJ were little people and why those characters were so short, because the kids would feel safe. They could go right to Baby Bop and that would allow them the buffer to warm up and then go to Barney.
Yeah.
They made a lot of adjustments over the years, figuring things out just like you're talking about.
Yeah. That makes perfect sense. I never thought of that because like I said, we're watching him on a little screen at home. Of course he's lovable, but I imagine in person, yeah, it would be overwhelming.
Well, and he's
that was the
when he's coming in and he's jumping and all of that, you know, and you've got a 7-foot dinosaur that's doing
Giggling.
giant hips for days.
How was that being in that inside there? Were you looking out of his mouth? Is that where your view was, out of his mouth?
Yeah, little down.
Yeah.
Little down.
I was
it was
Jeffrey the giraffe for Toys R Us for one commercial. And that was, you know, Jeffrey's neck went on for days and they controlled his eyes with a remote control. And I was looking out a peephole at the base of his neck. That was a miserable shoot. That was miserable. Being in that thing all day. And they just needed someone who was 5'6", and I was young and desperate and hungry. And I went, I'm 5'6", I'll do it. You know, it's Chris Nicolau. If you remember Chris Nicolau, the commercial casting agent, and the brace that I had to wear, you know, they put a shoulder brace on me here that was made of metal. Okay.
Similar.
Well,
Deja vu.
I got to work with Carol Spinney, Big Bird, and it was the same concept because he had the big as well. He had that big neck. It was amazing watching that. Very different than what we did.
Yeah.
Hey, Reese, you were talking about KD we were talking about KD earlier, and some of the kids that came from there that
Yeah.
were on Barney. Which ones?
Yeah, we've had a lot of kids do a lot of really recognizable stuff, but the girls that you're thinking of are Demi Lovato and Selena Gomez. And if you haven't caught Selena Gomez currently in her Only Murders in the Building with Martin
Yeah.
Short and Steve
Steve
Carell.
Martin.
Martin, thank
Steve
you.
Martin.
Thank you. Anyway, those two old coots, she really holds her own with their shtick. I mean, because they're buddies and they've got this, synergy, and she's
Right?
amazing. Yeah. So those two
You'd
little
have to
girls were
between
in
those
class.
two, wouldn't you? And she does great. Yeah,
She
seriously.
does. And those two little girls were in class at KD, and Travis Tedford was in class at KD when they came to Texas looking for Spanky for the Little Rascals. And let's see,
Right.
Molly Quinn was on Castle. She was Nathan Fillion's daughter for 8 seasons. We've just had a bunch of kids from Glee, and it's a great way for a child to either follow a path or just become comfortable in their own skin in front of a group expressing themselves. I mean, I always felt like theater should be right behind math in STEM because of what you learn as a person. Theater helps your personhood. It might not educate you in a way that you can actually make a living at, but everybody benefits. If nothing else, because of the inclusion factor. I mean, in high school, to be in the band or to be on the football team, you have to have a discernible skill. Not theater. It's like, we're the Statue of Liberty. Bring us your poor, bring us your, your disenfranchised. We'll find something for you to do. And
Yes.
yeah, we had a kid come to KD one time, and after his first semester, he quit. He was from a very small town in Arkansas, and his grandmother didn't know what to do with him, so she sent him down to the theater where he made costumes, and he thought he was a theater person. So he comes to Dallas, and after one semester at KD, he's discovered the Oak Lawn neighborhood, and he goes, "I'm not an actor, I'm just gay." And so he found himself, and that's what theater does for you. Especially the class I teach. I teach creative process, and that's like the archaeological dig of you. It's everybody's favorite class because who doesn't want to spend 2 hours just focused on themselves, but it's a big growth time, this time of life. You grew up, Josh, you learned how to manage your time and prioritize things. I did.
Yeah.
I figured it out. I love watching people either find that they are truly meant for a profession in this industry, or at least matriculating from us knowing themselves. That's worth gold.
Yeah. Yeah, I
I love
agree.
that.
Yeah.
I'm glad you
Good
came to
stuff.
us from Louisiana.
I was lucky. Yeah. Fortunate y'all took me. Took me twice. Took me twice, and
We've taken a
said,
couple people
"Here's."
3 times.
Yeah, right on. Well, that's the beauty of it too. That's the beauty of acting in the community. It's hard to get kicked out. It's
Well,
hard to get kicked out.
that's owing to the fact that we're a conservatory, and we're private, and
Well, yeah,
we're small, and we
specifically
can kind of
here,
do what we
might I
want.
say.
Yeah.
Might I say here. I know sometimes off in the industry and other communities, it's not necessarily as supportive, but if you're into this, if you're interested, then Katie is a great place to get it started. Because, like you say, even if you don't become an actor, even if you only get through a semester, uh, you know, I came from Louisiana, and all of a sudden there are people had green hair, like every like and then tomorrow it's purple, and then you know what I mean. uh to people cutting themselves, or gay people. There weren't a lot of gay people that were out, actively, and so that was a whole, and I didn't have any prejudices against it, thankfully. But all of a sudden it was like, oh, you know what, I was right. I was right. We are all cool. You know what I mean? We never hung out with each other before, so, or not that I knew of.
Right.
So yeah. Again, it was a great life experience, and I'd encourage anybody who is even just looking for even a direction, even if it's wrong, this is the right direction to figure out.
Well, and Texas is a great place to, aside from the fact that the legislature works against us actively in many ways, trying to shut the school down, for example, or deregulating the Texas Talent Agent Act, you know, or or taking away the oversight of schools like ours, so that anybody can open up shop. You're lucky to be an actor in Texas, because you can do it all. And you can do voiceover, and you can do commercial print, and you can be on a series. There's so much going on in the states around us, as well as in Texas. So, you know, a lot of our students have gone on to not do PG-13 stuff at all. They've done Walking Dead and Better Call Saul, and, you know, there's a lot of opportunity here.
I'm not on Barney if it's not in Texas, because I was not an actor at all. I was a musician.
Right.
What?
Yeah.
I was a piano player. I went to school, and I moved back to Dallas and was literally working at a restaurant where a guy said, "Hey, I know you're in the entertainment, and I've been doing this Barney thing." This was way before the TV show. "And they need someone. You should go over and talk to this lady." And I went over and met her, and met the costume and the whole deal, and basically talked myself into it, because I wasn't a theater person, and she gave me a shot. And next thing you know, 6 months later, I'm auditioning for Cheryl Leach and the creators of Barney. And
I remember
next thing you know, I have
Cheryl.
a 22-year career, and that would not have happened. I had no agent. I had nothing.
That is an amazing story, and it proves something.
Right.
What does it prove?
I don't accept no is what that approves. I just kept
you know, if it's
going.
meant to be, you know, it's like Josh going, no, 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 and then ending up, you know, and you going, what the heck? And, leaving musicianhood behind for a while. Gosh, that's really rich.
Well, Josh and I both found out that, we did so much with kids over the years, and the hospitals and all. It was such a meaningful, it was a great gig, but the experiences were just, they changed my life.
Yeah. There's a lot of heart there, and a lot of good. A lot of good. I feel that way about The Chosen. I'm so glad that something that is, because if you watch the stuff that goes by on your streaming from Hulu and HBO and Netflix and all that stuff, there is just a lot of stuff that's counterproductive, in my opinion. I don't want to give my time or energy to, and it's just nice to know that there's alternative programming for when you need a break. So, I wonder what happened to the folks at Lyric, if they've ever entertained the idea of bringing back or producing other stuff. Do you know? Do you stay in touch with Cheryl or any of them?
I do. There's, they've done a few things. There was a show called Boz, which was an animated show. One of the creators, Dennis DeShazer, worked on that for a long time. So I know they talk about things, and, who knows?
Yeah, who knows? I'm about ready for another fabulous series to come through.
Absolutely.
Right.
Well, Reese, it's just been a pleasure having you on this show and getting
I have
to
loved
meet
being
you.
here. And it's been like old home week. I love it. That's so fun.
Yes. You're awesome. Thanks for being here.
Well,
thank you for having me, guys. And y'all, and anybody who's listening who wants to send their kid to a great summer camp or a great Saturday class, we've got it. We just signed up one of our musical theater grads to teach hip hop to kids on Saturday.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah.
So
we'll put that in the link.
You could just go to the website.
Yeah, kdstudio.com. Come on.
Love it. Well, thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Reese.
Bye.
Have an awesome day.
Thanks for watching Mixtape Lounge. We will see you next week.